morning, Timber Ridge Church. I'm so excited to be here with y'all this morning. My name is Cody Vannoy, and I have the privilege of serving as the college pastor here. And I just want to give it a round of applause for our worship team. They get here so early every time. Normally, I get here a little bit later, but because I'm on stage and other things, I need to get here a little early. And I was looking at them going, good thing I got coffee because y'all are here really early this morning. So just wanted to thank them and everybody in the back of the house as well. That helps as well. Thank you for staying with us for that long announcement video. We knew we had a lot of announcements, and normally I'm on the video screen and Pastor John's here, so we flipped roles this week. And I remember when they did that video, I'm in charge each week of making sure I get all the announcements and all the information. And then I just gave it to them this week, and then they came back like, hey, we have this really long video. I was like, oh, okay. So it was good, but it was good that we got those informations for you. And if you happen to miss any of those that happened, with that one screens the QR codes, you can still write on that connection card and write it and give it to either me or somebody in a blue lanyard after service as well. But when they first mentioned, I'm glad that he also did that video because he was able to talk about where he was and a lot of our staff members and even some of our elders here. And so it was really good that they were able to talk about that, so I didn't have to address that elephant in the room. But it's good that we have how our family here is at Timber Ridge Church, that they're able to go and do that on a weekend and on a Sunday and pursue healthy marriages and what that looks like and benefits. So that's really cool. But a quick story, when I found out about that retreat, I first thought, I went, oh, this is really cool. This is for couples, like I'm in a relationship, like this is really cool. This is going to be really beneficial. And then I realized it was like marriage, and I forgot that memo, or I didn't get that memo. And so I went, oh, got it. And then I realized that I would be the only staff member here. And I went, oh, good to know. Got it. Great. But I remember sitting there going, I wasn't invited to the party, but it's okay. I'm used to being invited to the party, so it's totally okay. But I remember sitting there that it wasn't for me. I didn't get invited for the party. But then I also realized that I was just really thankful for the opportunity, thankful that I was able to speak to you today, and that they were trusting me to be able to speak the word to you today. And since it's, thankfulness and Thanksgiving's right around the corner, so it's really easy to kind of talk about that. But when we talk about Thanksgiving, there is a issue that divides all of us in this room. And it's a question I'm about to ask, and you're about to figure out who your friends are in this room, who's not your friends, or people you need to pray for, depending on what it is on here. But whatever side you are on this question, whichever opinion you have, normally you have facts behind why you believe that, or so it just depends. So you can raise your hand, make some noise, doesn't matter. Who here prefers or who doesn't care to listen to Christmas music before Thanksgiving, either November 1st or all year long? Raise your hand. Make some noise. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now, on the other side, what if you're sitting there like, okay, you have to have the Thanksgiving, you have to have the meal, maybe Black Friday shopping is when you can do it, but it has to have, like Thanksgiving has to have first. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay, so I'm going to be praying for the other people, okay? Christmas music is for after. I love Christmas music. There's nothing wrong for it. At the later you can come. We'll pray for you. No, I'm just kidding. But the reality of it is at least for me, I just think it should be after because I just love Thanksgiving. Even though Christmas is still one of my favorite holidays, it is that. And so the title of today's message is Creating a Lifestyle of Thankfulness. Because I'm really thankful for this, and people tell you to be thankful, and you have the Thanksgiving, because people are like, oh, well, you should be thankful all year long, which is true, but really it's a time where everyone tells you you're supposed to be thankful. But the reality behind it is that for some people in this room, or majority, does not matter, some people in here, Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays is not a season of thankfulness and gratitude. It's more about stress and anxiety and worry. Because we got to figure out plans, we got to cook food, we got to do all these things, we got to make sure we impress these in-laws, and make sure our kids get this and they get that. So there's all these different things that can cause stressful situations for us. But the reality behind it is when we are fully in that season and we're in a full season of stress, we're not able to be fully present with our daily lives. And what that's going to affect are numerous things. It's going to not only affect our families and our kids, our relationships with others or friends, our job maybe, or our coworkers. Maybe you're in the house tonight and you are a business owner, and it's going to affect how you deal with your employees. But what it's really going to be able to affect when we are stressed out in this season, or just in general, is our relationship with Christ. And that's a very dangerous spot to be in when we are in a season of stress, because we're going to enter in a territory that we don't want to be in. So you may be sitting here saying, okay, well, Cody, that's great, but how can I even begin a lifestyle of gratitude and thankfulness? What does that look like? What is a lifestyle? Like I've heard about it. I kind of understand it. I think I'm doing it. So today, that's either going to confirm that you're walking this way, or it's going to allow you to sit there and go, you know what? Maybe I need to readjust, realign, refocus those different things. So, but the first question that you need to ask is, how is your prayer life going? It's a question that we always ask in the church, and people say, like, pray, pray, pray. Just pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. That's all they talk about. But it's really asking yourself that question. How is your prayer life? So that's step one, but really step 1B, or the first point of today's message, is create a devoted prayer life. When you look in Colossians 4:2 in the New Testament, it says, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. And so I do want to address an elephant in the room about prayer. People always tell you about prayer, and they're like, well, it's easy. You're just a communication with God, which it is true. It is communicating. But as you know, and it's just a relationship that you are building. That's what communicating with God is all about. But as people know, some people like communicating more, or some people don't like communicating. That's totally okay if it is you. But everybody understands the relationship that they have, where it's hard to bring up difficult issues in our lives, because sometimes communicating with difficult conversation or addressing issues or something along those lines can be difficult, even if we like communicating. But what we have to be is, even though we have this elephant in the room, what it requires us to be is to be vulnerable. And that is why it is difficult for us. Think about situations or relationships that you have where it struggled, and that vulnerability is where it's really hard, because maybe it's hard for you to trust somebody. Maybe it's for you to do something else. But that vulnerability is where the relationship can grow deeper, because you're vulnerable and you trust that person. But what we have to do is we have to set aside our pride, because we're very prideful people. But in Proverbs 11:2, it says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. And so with the wisdom and experience around us and what people are telling us and wise counsel, we're going to choose to set aside our pride, and we're actually going to welcome in humility. And when you welcome in humility in our lives, we're able to have those conversations. But the problem is a lot of times we don't do that, or what will happen is sometimes we'll have maybe you're sitting in the house going, well, Cody, I've done that, but I'm still stressed out and I have prayed. Well, the funny part about it, and I've seen this in my own life, is you may be in a season right now that you prayed for 12 months ago, and now you're in that season, and now you're stressed out about it. 12 months ago, you asked for that new job, for that raise, and God fulfilled it, and now you're sitting there, and it's stressful, or we find ourselves complaining, or we're just struggling in that season. Maybe it's something along the other lines of, maybe there's a sickness that was happening in our family's lives, and then God healed them, and they're going to be there at Thanksgiving, and you don't want to have conversations about, taxes with them. I don't know, whatever it is for them, you just don't have that conversation, right? And then we forget, like, holy cow, 3-4 years ago, they were fighting for their lives, and now I'm sitting here complaining about this conversation that I want to have, but yet 3 years ago or several months ago, I was even afraid that they weren't even going to be here. Right? So we have these things, and so when we do that exact opposite, that was a struggle, especially as the country that we're living. I think we live in one of the worst countries for that mindset. As Americans, we are kind of told, chase that American dream, right? We're told, hey, work all day, every day, and then someday down the line, you'll be able to live a stress-free life with living off of your retirement funds. You're able to do that. But the reality is, when we create that is going to continue to create those worries, add up those stresses, and increase that doubt in our lives. However, when you look at that, God really wants us to give up all those worries to Him, because He wants us to live in harmony. In Colossians 3:14 through 15, it says, above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony, and let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful. So you may be sitting in here and going, well, Cody, that's great and all, Danny, love it. But how does this affect my daily walk, my daily feeling of gratitude and feeling like how am I able to feel it around me? Well, I don't know what is going on in your life, so I can't speak to that. So I can only speak on my personal experience, and I have a great personal experience for you from last Monday. So this week, this whole week, I knew, well, let me backtrack. Something you need to know about me is when I know I'm about to have a busy day or a busy week, I do one of two things. One, I sleep, because that's just like for me when I'm stressed or I'm struggling with something or I know it's going to be a busy week, I'm just going to sleep because I get very hangry too, but also sleep too. So I just need to be sleep. I need to be fully, I need to be at 100% to deal with some of the problems that I've got going on or issues. So that is one. But as well as I normally either procrastinate it or I just know there's a lot. And when I know that there's a lot, I kind of just don't know where to act because I don't know what to take the first step. And there's probably some of you in the house tonight that understand sitting there and like, yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly when I'm burdened down, I've got all these stuff. I just don't know what step to take because it just all seems overwhelming. So that happened to me on Monday. I got in the office on Monday and I knew not only did I need to edit some videos, I needed to have some conversations, which is emotional and spiritually draining. I knew I needed to write this sermon. I knew we had T-Rock on Wednesday. Like I knew I had all these different things planned on top of that, just on the work side, not including personal things that had been going on. And so I knew I had a lot of stress that was there, and I just didn't know what to take that first step. So I remember on Monday, I was about 30 minutes in the office, and I literally hadn't done anything. And I sat down, and I said, you know what? And I closed my laptop, and I just started to pray because it was the only thing I could think of, which was my first step. And the prayer was something along the lines of, I just was like, God, I just need some help. I need your presence because I've got to have some conversations this week, and if not, they're not going to come back to church because I'm going to say some ugly words to them. I need your words to speak through me. I was just asking for some guidance and some clarity. I was like, Lord, I just need your help. And what was funny about that is I can still remember it. I remember laughing and smiling in the middle of it because I felt the weight of the week just flow off of my shoulders. I felt the stress be relieved from my body. I felt the anxiety just going away, and it was replaced with the Holy Spirit basically saying, I got you. And that is where it was struggles for me. But the reason why is I sat there, and why I was laughing is I remember going, God, I know that this is the answer. I've been told this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to pray. I'm supposed to do these things. But I go, why don't I do it? And the reality behind it is one reason why we sometimes struggle with the prayer is we focus on the whats, the hows, and the whens. And there's this song. I have two songs today I'm gonna bring up. But one of them, if you don't know another thing, you're just gonna know so many more things about me today. But I love '90s country, and so there's this song. There's a man who we all know who the king of country music is, but this guy was very popular in the '90s. And Garth Brooks made a song called "Unanswered Prayers," and this song "Unanswered Prayers" is a great song, but the reality is the song's not true. God does not answer your prayers. He normally puts it in three categories: yes, no, not right now. Like that's really how it goes. It may feel like they're unanswered prayers, but that's what it is. So that's why we focus. We focus on the what, we focus on how, like how he's going to do it, what's going to happen, or we go, when is it going to happen? And so we focus on those, but in reality, what we should be focusing is the timing of our prayer. Not when it is fulfilled, when we do the praying. So maybe not the when there, when later, but when now. And what I mean by that is when you have something that is going on, you have that personal sin or struggle going on in your life, are you stopping and sitting and praying in that moment? Because you've heard prayer's powerful and you've heard it is all these things, but in reality, what are you grabbing? Are you going to wise counsel? Are you going to prayer? Or are you pulling to that liquor that's in the cabinet? Or do you pray, or do you have something else that you're grabbing instead of something? Are you going to go gossip with some friends about that situation instead of dealing with the situation that's at hand? What are you grabbing to in those situations? So when we start praying instead of doing those other things, and we start praying in those and we focus on those timings of our prayers, then we're going to start we're going to start being more thankful and feeling more gratitude towards God in those moments. So, and then now we have going on to our second step. How do you create that lifestyle of thankfulness? Second is live a life through love. Live a life through love. 1 Corinthians 13:13 says, 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And the reality of love is, to some degree, we have all experienced, or hopefully everyone in this room has experienced the power of love to some degree. You may be sitting next to them right now. Okay? through there, you remember that time that you told them you loved them the first time. You remember those feelings. You remember all those beginning of those things. But you also remember when they aren't sometimes your best friend and they annoy the crap out of you. But even though those happen, the power of love keeps you together and it gives you through those hard times. Maybe you're not on that point, but maybe it's the other side. Maybe one reason why the holidays are so hard for you is because it reminds you of that loved one that's not here anymore. And you don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about them not being here because you can't understand why God would have them not here anymore when they meant that much to you. And so that makes me think of a song by Ed Sheeran, because my music genre is crazy. If you go and if we were hitting playlists or shuffle on my Apple Music, oh my goodness, you would see so many different genres of music. But in Ed Sheeran, there's a song called Supermarket Flowers. And the song talks about the loss of a mother. And in the song, one of the best lines in it says, "A heart that's been broke is a heart that's been loved." So you may be able to relate to that today. And so when we understand that, but the reality is, even though we know the love, we don't choose to use it, or we don't choose to love people. And I keep saying reality, I apologize. But the point is because we have that choice, we don't choose love. Because it's not sometimes natural. And when it's a choice, we have to choose it because you have to choose to love somebody. And they have to choose to love you back. So when you look at that, but when you look at what is love even look like, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, we go back to chapter 13 that we just looked at in 1 Corinthians, it tells us exactly what it is. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. And the real question after hearing that you need to ask yourself is, do people describe you in that way? Not just your loved ones, but if people around you, co-workers or friends, or even the people that are in your inner circle, would they describe you in that way? So could you fill in the blanks, and could you be able to sit there and say, I'm going to use my own name for an example on this, but could you say, Cody is patient and kind. Cody is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. He does not demand his own way. He is not irritable, and he keeps no record of being wrong. He does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins. He never gives up. He never loses faith. He is always hopeful, and he endures through every circumstance. You need to ask yourself that here this morning. You need to ask, are people describing me that way? Because it gives us a clear outline of what love looks like and what it requires of us. So when we do that first step of having a devoted prayer life, that's our step one. We're continuing to do that. We're starting to feel more grateful. And then we start choosing to love one another the way that Jesus did. We're able to see that. And something that I want you to know and remember is that people are going to fail you in life. They are. There's probably someone you can think of right now that has failed you. For me, in the past, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it was coaches that I put on a pedestal, and they could never live up to that expectations that I put it on because we are all human. And the thing that encouragement that I want to give you today is love the person, hate the sin. That's it. Love the person, love the human being, but hate that sin because we're all going to have it. Now, are there different consequences, earthly consequences for certain sins and certain actions? Absolutely. But love the person, hate the sin. So when we start doing those and we start doing those first two steps, we're going to start developing a lifestyle of thankfulness and gratitude. But our third step and final one is you got to have faith. And for me, this point really hits home because I'm kind of on the end of it, but I'm still, as I recommend that you always stay in this, got to always have faith. I believe there were songs, you gotta have faith. I can't remember, but anyway. But there's that song there. But when you have that story, my story in the past 12 months, I've had to have a lot of faith. And so I mentioned something about coaches earlier. For those of you that don't know, I'm a graduate of Tarleton, but I had the privilege of playing baseball here at Tarleton. It was a big part of my life. I played ever since I was 4 years old. And so my entire life, I've always wanted to be a professional baseball player, and I wanted to be a sports broadcaster off of that. Because I love talking, and I went, well, I love talking, and I love talking about sports, so might as well go make money doing both. And so because of that, but the funny thing was, growing up as a kid, even though people were like, hey, you're a good baseball player, they're like, you could be a preacher. And I don't know if it's just because I like to talk and I like Jesus at the time, but I was just told, hey, you should preach, you should preach. But I didn't feel that calling on my life at that time. It was always baseball broadcast, always baseball broadcast. And so I come to Tarleton in January of 2020 because I transferred from a different school. And the funny thing is I enjoyed my time, but let's backtrack to last summer. I have to have like a minor surgery to fix some problems with my elbow at that time. And fast forward through the end of the summer, I end up having good results, good everything. And then right at the end of summer, we have our T-Rock lead team retreats, is what we do every year with our college lead team. And it would have been that was my third one at the time. And Pastor Nick at the time had been asking me, like, hey, would you want to join more? Would you want to join more? And I was like, no, I just don't feel that calling yet. And there was something that happened on that moved with my spirit. I was like, this is something that I really enjoy, that I really love, and maybe something I would look to get into. So when we got back from that lead team retreat, I told Pastor Nick about it, and he was like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, let's look at it. And he was like, would you want to jump in right now? I was like, no. I was like, I've still got this baseball thing going on. Like, I want to finish this year, and then we'll talk about it in the future. So little did I know, a month later, and after all my rehab and everything going well, my elbow went out again, and this time worse. And so I had a decision to make. I had a decision to get surgery and end my career, or I had a choice to kind of keep playing, but I wouldn't be able to play back till the end, but still be a part of the team and still do all these different things. So I had a choice. And it was a choice that at that time I was not really wanting to make. Now, I'm standing with you here today, and you're sitting there and you understand the choice that I made. But to get here, I didn't envision this. In reality, if I'm 100% honest, I didn't want to be speaking to you today that time 12 months ago. Because what I wanted for my own life was I wanted what I wanted. I wanted my will to be there. I wanted to have my career. I wanted it to be my way at different things. And in reality, I was really scared. I was scared of losing friends. I was scared of losing people that were comfortable to me. I was scared of doing something new. I was afraid of bills. I was afraid of all these things because that was the choices that I had to make. And I didn't want to deal with it. But this verse would pop in my head, and it's Romans 8:27 through 28. And it says, and the Father who knows all hearts knows what the Spirit is saying. For the Spirit pleads for us, believers, in harmony with God's own will. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Notice, this verse does not say all things are good. It does not say everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows, and it's, when you choose to follow and have this life of Christ, that everything's going to be great. It says for the good. So for me, you may not be able to see it, but this surgery that I chose last December was not, I wasn't sitting there like, yeah, I'll get surgery. I wasn't excited for that. It was scary. I didn't enjoy it. And if you had told me, well, Cody, do you see what the next 12 months and where you'd be? I would have been like, no. But when we look at it and we try and choose our own path versus God's path for us, it's hard because we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the reality. If God was able to come to you today and you could see the light at the end of the tunnel, you'd be like, yeah, that looks great. It looks amazing. I'm going to choose this way. But the reality is that we can't. But if we look at Hebrews 11:1, it says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. And so what this verse is telling us is it is saying that if we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, it wouldn't be called faith. It wouldn't be called faith if we could see the light or the train or whatever coming at the end of the tunnel. It wouldn't be called that. And with that in mind, you go to 2 Corinthians 5:7. It says, "For we live by faith, not by sight." And so if we live by faith and not by sight, then we should have confidence in knowing that no matter what you got going on, God's got you. He's got you. And that may be hard for you to understand, saying, Cody, you don't know what I've got going on in my life right now. You don't know the struggles, the pain, the anxiety, the stress, the broken families, the addictions. You don't know what's going on in my life. And you're right, I don't. But I know a guy who does. He knows what's going on in your life. He knows about that financial situation that you're struggling with. He knows about it. He knows about those personal sins that you're struggling with. He knows about that division in your family and those awkward conversations that you're going to try and avoid on Thursday. He knows about those. He knows about the problems in your marriage, in your marriages, and with your kids and what that looks like. He knows all about those. And what he's trying to tell you is, I don't need you to see me live by faith, but no, I've got my arm right around you. And I said, I've got you. I've got you. That's what he's saying. He's sitting there for that today. And when you look at that and you look at 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18, it says, rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So I'm going to close by saying this. Some of you today may be struggling with even the possibility of creating a lifestyle of gratitude and thankfulness. And you think, Cody, there's no way it is possible for me to even dream it, much less it be a reality. But I want to tell you something today. Something that hopefully will bring you encouragement. Because even though I may not know what is going on in your lives, I do know this. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. And so many times in our lives, we're sitting over there, and whether we're looking over at the neighbor's yard or whatever, we're looking over there, God's telling you, hey, I got you right where I need you to be. And I know you may not understand. I know you may be struggling. I know you may be hurting, but I've got you. I've got you. I'm right here. And if you have experienced, and we go back into our lives, I want to re-energize that moment where you felt that. Maybe it was the first time you came to Christ. Maybe it was a situation that you remember where God was so involved in your life, you knew it was Him. And I want to re-energize that spirit of faith. And I want you to believe in it today. And I want you to declare that today. And if you're not saved and you don't know, I'm telling you, it's scary to take that first step and going, Cody, I don't know even how to walk in God's way for my life. And this is all it is. If this is our own way and this is God's way, all it takes is taking one step each and every day to Him. And I promise you'll see it. But you got to have faith. You have to. And you're like, Cody, that's scary. I know it's scary. Cody, I haven't seen it before. That's okay. I'm telling you, I've seen it. And why I'm so passionate about it, my own life, is I saw it on Monday. I've seen it in my own life. And I'm only saying that not to say that I'm better than you or not. I'm not. I struggle with the same things that you struggle with. I just know in my life I've seen it, and I want you to be as convicted and passionate about it as I am. So we want to stand here today and declare over all of our struggles, no matter what it is, no matter what is going on in your life, we're going to feel gratitude. We're going to thank God for what He's done in the past. We're going to thank God for what He's doing right now. We're going to thank God for the things He's going to do in the future. We're going to thank Him. I didn't even share this with the first, but I'm going to share it the second real quick. My parents, I'm the first in my family, and my parents had been struggling. They were thinking about adopting, and they were trying to have kids for over 3 years, and they were struggling. Newlyweds, newly Christians, struggling heavily. And our pastor there took them and 5 other couples up on stage, gave them party hats, and then the woo, those things, gave them all those and party hats and little confetti things, and said on a Wednesday night service, and said, God, we're going to declare victory over these situations, and we're going to pray for what he's going to do tomorrow. A month later, all couples were pregnant, and that was me. And so when you do those things and you just have faith, he starts working in ways, and when you see that, you're going to start feeling grateful. You're going to see those lives, your life change for the better, because you're just being thankful. Doesn't mean life isn't going to be hard. Doesn't mean you're not going to struggle. I'm not saying that you will, but that's why you build community, and that's why you do those things. So if you want a lifestyle of gratitude and thankfulness, start with those 3 things. Those are the steps. Start creating a devoted prayer life. Start living a life through love, and have a life full of crazy faith. If you want crazy things to happen in your life, start having crazy faith. Start having crazy faith, and you will start beginning to have a lifestyle full of gratitude and thankfulness. Pray.
Thank you for checking out Timber Ridge Church on YouTube. We pray that you enjoyed this message. If you want to get caught up on the current series, click right here. If you want to see any previous series that we've done in the past, click right here. And also, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of the content that we post here on Timber Ridge Church's YouTube account. We will see you next time.